Hey yo, it's Gluke, and today I'm gonna be showing you how to play Ableton Build Pro. Ableton has loads and loads of hotkeys. The way that I use Ableton, I barely touch the mouse. That's sort of a result of me working on my laptop for a long time. I've been working in Ableton for about 14 years now, so I have a pretty good understanding how to navigate the program using pretty much just hotkeys. First and foremost, getting good at actually just using the program, you're going to be able to finish a lot more projects and write out a lot more ideas if your workflow is able to keep up with how fast your brain is thinking. So if you have an idea and you're sort of bogged down with all these clicks and all these keystrokes, you'll lose that idea before you finished sketching it out. Hey yo, it's Future Gluke. After editing this video, I'm gonna do a part 2 on how to write MIDI clips really fast. But for now, watch this one, and a lot of the hotkeys that I'm using will make sense in that video. So, if you've been following along, the project that I'm demonstrating on today is going to be the chords project that we wrote in the previous video. I'm going to show you the most important hotkeys for navigating this screen. And this screen is called Session View. If we're on this screen is called Live View. And this is more for live production. For our purposes, just writing music, we'll be in Session View. So the first group I'm going to go ahead and call Navigation. This is going to be most of the stuff that we're doing that's not instrument specific on this screen. The most obvious ones are going to be using your arrow keys to move the little blue line around, and you can think of the blue line as sort of where your mouse cursor is. The arrow keys have sort of 3 functions that are all separate. So obviously we have the first one here, which is just moving around like this. The second one is going to be when we're clicked on a group or a track. If you press right, it'll open it up, and if you press left, it'll close it. You can do the same in reverse, so if we're doing this, it'll open it all up. But all I'm doing is just pressing left and up or right and down. You just got to figure out what the order of the strokes are, and then you can start going really fast with it. Third function of the arrow keys is going to be highlighting. So if I hold down Shift and I press right on the arrow key, we've now highlighted this whole section. And if I do Shift and down arrow key, we'll be able to highlight multiple tracks. This is really useful if you're able to use it in conjunction with the next set of commands that I'm going to introduce. So commands 1 and 2 are going to be open and close the grid. So command 1 is going to divide the grid in half. If we press command 2, it's going to do the opposite. So the command 1 and 2 and then using the arrow keys is really good when you just need to copy like one piece over. For example, if I wanted to copy this over, I could just do that. I click here, so I have the little blue highlighter thing. Then make sure we're on the right grid setting. Shift right arrow key so that I get the 1 unit. Copy. Then I just go command 2 back to the beginning. And now I can just copy and command D all of these over. The next 2 commands that I'm going to talk about are command 3, which opens our triplet grid. So right now the grid is on all of the beats. If I press command 1, now we have our 8th notes in. If I press command 3, now we have our 8th note triplets. So we'll be able to fit 3 notes into 1 beat. Command 1 and 2 are going to work the same way if you're in triplet grid. But if you're in triplet grid and you need to get out of it, you press command 3 again. The last one that's pretty useful, mainly when you're working with samples that have a little bit of variance to them. If you press command 4, all of the grid lines will turn into these dotted lines, and that means that the grid is off. So we can move things by however far we move the mouse. It's not going to be stuck to the grid. So if I have some stuff that's like slightly off grid and I need to get it back on, if I press command 4 and then I click this and press left arrow key, it's just going to snap to the next interval that we have the grid set to. Now, some more useful ones to know, command comma will open up your settings here. Command W will close that. Another useful one for when you're starting ideas is if we have a loop going and you want to turn on the metronome, you can press O on the keyboard. That'll turn the metronome on. Command L is going to loop. If you press command L over this time, it'll turn on. If I was looping this time and I want to loop this time instead, I can just press command L and that loop will jump over. It's not going to turn off. But if I press command L again over this same section, it'll turn off. The export hotkey is command shift R, and that'll open up this. Another good one is if you're on a Mac laptop, you press FN F12. If you have just the F12 button, this works without the FN. Will let you swap between MIDI view and session view. It'll just open whatever highlighted clip I have. The next one that's really useful is command F. it'll immediately start searching. Now, the one downside to this is that if I type in hi-hats here just off of Cmd F, it's going to show me every single hat sample that I have. So if you want to search for something within a specific pack really quick, start by typing Cmd F, type in hat or whatever, and then we'll go into a specific folder, and then that search criteria will still be applied. But if I'm already in this pack and then I hit Cmd F, it's still going to show me everything in the hard drive. You just need to keep track of where you are on your computer. Last but not least, one of the most important hotkeys is Cmd S, which is save. You'll see that the mouse will turn into this little clock really fast. Sometimes it's not quite as fast, but we haven't changed too much about this project, so it'll save quickly. Let's say you're starting to overproduce an idea and you want to save it as a new project. You can do Cmd Shift S, and it will open this. So that's pretty much the overview of all of the main hotkeys that you're going to be using in this clip view that isn't working on actual music. This is more so just like navigating around and just important things to know. The next section will be editing. So all of these hotkeys are going to give us different editing abilities. To begin with, pressing A will open up all of your automations, and pressing A again will close them all. Another really useful tool in this section that you use with commands 1 and 2 would be draw mode. So let's say I want the filter to come down here. If I press B, we're now in draw mode, and that you can see with the pencil. It's going to move these by the intervals of which we have the grid. The main thing is that if you want to make a fade really fast, all you need to do is press B, draw down to where you want, and then get rid of this corner. Now you have a perfect fade to where you want. Just make sure that you get rid of the rest of it. Working with audio is where moving the grid is going to be super useful for you. If we go in here and let's say we want to take this section, just highlight this, press Cmd E. It's now its own clip. You can also do this just by highlighting and dragging. You can also use the arrow keys to move these around based on the grid. Now let's make some cuts here, just mess this up a little bit. Now we've done a lot of really hard thinking and we've got all these vocal cuts. If we wanted to make this one big piece of audio instead of a bunch of little clips, what we could do is highlight all this and then Cmd J, and it'll turn into one big piece. The same works with MIDI as well. So like if we've got a bunch of clips here, we can just highlight this, Cmd J, and it's now one piece. Another really important one is Cmd Z and Shift Cmd Z, because Cmd Z is undo, and that's pretty universal, but Shift Cmd Z is redo. If you've Cmd Z a little too far and you need to redo it, you can press Shift Cmd Z and it'll start redoing the work that we just undid. So that's really useful if you're just like super deep in a project and you need to go back a bunch of steps. The next couple are probably ones that you're familiar with. Command C is copy, Command V is paste, Command X is cut. So that'll actually get rid of it. So Command D is duplicate, and that's just going to copy over what you have. Let's say, okay, this build isn't long enough. If I highlight this whole section and I do Command D, it's only going to copy this MIDI clip over. But if we do Command Shift D, it's going to duplicate it by time. So that depends on what we have highlighted here, which is also similar to Command I, which is insert time. So if we highlight this section and we do Command I, it'll just push it over this exact amount. I find that this is much better than pressing Command I just right here, because now we have to figure out, okay, how much time do I need? Usually it's going to be like 4 or 8, but it's just quicker if you highlight this, because you can just look at the space that you need. Like if I needed half of this phrase instead of a full phrase, then it just makes it. The same thing also works too with copy and paste. If you hold down Command Shift copy or Command Shift cut, nothing's going to happen. But if you hold down Command Shift paste, it will push it'll insert time as well as what we've just pasted. We've got Command Shift T for a new audio track, Command Shift T for a new MIDI track, Command Shift M for a new MIDI clip. 0 will deactivate a clip. What's really nice about this one is that we don't actually need to delete it. If this is an idea that maybe you want to go back to, but it's getting in the way for now, you can just press 0 and it'll turn gray. This also works when we're in MIDI view, and in the last video, I zeroed all of these notes. So 0 is kind of a universal function within Ableton of just turning stuff off, but you don't actually have to delete it because maybe we want to come back and just turn that back on. And then obviously the last one is delete. We'll just get rid of it all. The last set of hotkeys is what to do when you've pressed a hotkey by accident and something goes wrong. Mainly the only two that you can mess up. So let's say that you hit you go for Command J, but you end up hitting Command K, and everything turns orange like this. You're now in key mode. To be quite honest, I don't know what it does, but if you press Command K, everything will go back to normal. If you're going to make a new MIDI clip and everything turns blue like this, we're now in MIDI mode. To get back out of it, you just have to hit Command M again, and you're good to go. You can also click, but this is a video about hotkeys not clicking. That's an in-depth explanation of all the hotkeys I use. I'll go ahead and work on this track for a little bit, and let's see all of the hotkeys in action. So if I look for an F minor vocal, because that'd probably be the next thing we add. And so I want to add some like vocal cuts just to add a bit more like flavor to this first part. So okay, so that's what I would do here. Okay, another one you're going to be using is Command G, and that's to group up tracks. So both of these tracks are going to be Vox. Just close that, and then we can turn this one off. I'll keep that one as like resource or something. Let's go ahead and find something with some words. Let's make sure that this is all synced up.
You look at me. I know I never felt this before. You here with me. So I need. I got this.
Where's the rest of that? So yeah, we'll just chop out the back end of this because it doesn't go anywhere. So I want this echo to like sweep in here.
You here with me. You here with me. You look at me. You here with me.
Okay, yeah, that's what we're gonna do actually. Okay, so yeah, in the past like I don't know 10 minutes, we've got now these vocal chops. We've set the vocals here. We've got a A phrase and a B phrase. We added a little fill here in the drop. It would have taken me a lot longer if I had to go in, click, right click, look for, oh, where's split clip here, you know, can't find it, go up and edit, you know what I mean? Like, if you're able to navigate Ableton, honestly, the way that kids play Fortnite build, you'll just be cruising and you can really crank out ideas fast. Obviously, the details are going to take a lot longer, but when you're writing songs, you want to get the broad strokes in first, and then that way you sort of have something to go back into, and now we can really dive deep into how we want each little, second to sound like. That's my overarching method on how I use hotkeys, but also how you can optimize your workflow. I hope that you have found this video helpful and instructive. Be sure to like and subscribe, bro. Be sure to hit the bell so you know when I post new videos. And we will see you in the next one.